Welcome to a Victim Bites Back, episode 64 from Marrakech in Morocco with Jonathan King. But it's been very strange this last couple of weeks, the first 2 weeks of 2024, because of what's been going on in the United Kingdom, where a brilliant TV show, fictional, based on fact, called Mr. Bates versus the Post Office has caused the most incredible fuss. Now, it's natural that there's a fuss caused by something like this, but what we are now seeing is the Prime Minister bringing in a law that quashes all 800 convictions, those that are wrongful and those that are right, because of research by those working on an ITV fictional drama. Now that is amazing. Surely convictions should only be quashed because of the law and the CCRC, which has been set up to investigate miscarriages of justice. However, that's taken forever and ever, especially in my case 24 years ago, where my miscarriage of justice has still yet to be overturned. I made a film about this myself 20 years ago, in which I looked at the circumstances, thinking that perhaps I would provoke a storm as Mr. Bates versus the Post Office did. The main character in my film was Max Clifford.
You may not believe me, but they call him the Silver Stoat. With his slick white hair and his slippery tongue, he's more of a snake than a goat. And you may not believe them, but he claims to think it's true, though it could be a lie to cover his tracks in case they decide to sue. And ooh, he's gonna screw you, ooh, sticking it to you. He's gonna do what it pays him to do until his life is through. They may not believe him in his tabloid position of strength, but they can buy his stories conveniently at arm's length. And you may not believe him when he helps the police and press to convict all the innocent victims with headlines of pain and distress. And ooh, he's gonna screw you, ooh, sticking it to you. He's gonna do what it pays him to do until his life is through. See his fingers pink with blood and tears, planting rumours, catering to your fears. Horrid fictions, few of them are true, but he's doing nicely, he's far richer than you. You may not believe him as he sucks on Satan's bile, but the evil he disseminates is absolutely vile. And you may not believe him with the poison that he spread, but everyone he's ever cared for has ended up crippled or dead. And ooh, he's gonna screw you, ooh, sticking it to you. He's gonna do what it pays him to do until his life is through. He's gonna do what it pays him to do until his life is through. He's gonna do what it pays him to do until his life is through.
Now let me tell you straight off, you have no story. Oh, I understand your life has been traumatic, being a drug addict junkie, a liar, a rent boy, prostitute, alcoholic and failure. None of that is actually a problem, as we routinely blame it all on the abuse instead of the other way round, which would make you rather unreliable. You've reached the age of 50. What's your name again? Kurt, spelled C-U-R-R-T. As I was saying, these men you were abused by back in the 60s and 70s, and I must believe everything you tell me, you understand, and who are therefore responsible for the appalling state of your life. They're little people, unimportant, trivial. Yes, one of them used to be a radio DJ years ago, but everyone has forgotten him. Local papers might do a story, but there's no money in that. Sad though it may be, if it's money you're after, you won't get it unless there's a celebrity involved. Fame equals cash. Remember that, Carl. That's the important thing. Fame. Nothing else matters. But with fame comes huge profits, up to £33,000 in compensation, which need not be declared for tax or to anyone else, and anonymity remains for the claimants. Six-figure sums from the tabloids if the stories are particularly salacious, minus my 20% deduction, of course. Remember, they pay nothing or only hundreds for stories about nonentities, but tens of thousands for celebrities. Thank you so much for approaching me. Goodbye. I must take this call.
Nothing can beat being a professional victim, making you richer today. Claiming a crime from decades ago, everyone believes what you say. Nothing can beat being a professional victim, a sob in your voice and a tear in your eye. Revenge or delusion, the world's at your feet when you break down and cry. Who can disprove your terrible story? After all, it was so long ago. You truly deserve all the cash compensation, the sympathy and attention that come from high and low. Nothing can beat being a professional victim, 'cause no one could doubt your pain. And if they do, you'll relate it again and again. It needn't be ancient if you say it just happened, and it's only their word against yours. You'll discover a legion of organizations specializing in opening doors with new laws. Nothing can beat being a professional victim. Brush cynics away like dead flies, and the genuine victims can suffer in silence from your lies.
93 convictions have been overturned in the post office scandal by the CCRC over 30 years. You see, I've been going on for years how the CCRC, the Criminal Case Review Commission, is not fit for purpose because it turns down 98% of the applications that go to it for miscarriages of justice. Now, it may be correct that 98% are valid judgments in the court of law, and that 98% do not deserve to be looked at again by the Court of Appeal, but that is the CCRC's duty, to examine those cases, all 100% of them, and to send back to the Court of Appeal those cases it considers worthy of consideration by the Court of Appeal as to whether or not they were miscarriages of justice. My case has been turned down several times. I don't think that's right. You see, when the Post Office Horizon scandal first broke, many years ago, the CCRC had to look at whether or not they regarded them as valid miscarriages of justice. It took them forever, and indeed most of the ones it took on, it turned down, as they do with 98% of the applications. Various things took over, and there was more proof coming through, and eventually I think they put about 90 cases through, all of which were granted, but that's 90 out of I think 700 that got considered. Well, fair enough, but I think wrong. They should have looked at them faster, more closely, more efficiently, and therefore, if that had happened, the 30 or 40% that were sent back, as opposed to the 2% that normally get sent back, would have actually gone through within minutes, and then so would many of the others. But they weren't. Now, A, that is a disgrace, but B, there is a new disgrace. Prompted by the excellent ITV series Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, starring the wonderful Toby Jones, a very well written, well put together 4-part series, which essentially looked at 3 of those cases and came to the conclusion that the CCRC should have passed them through much quicker. The convictions should have been quashed much faster, and other convictions should also have been cancelled. However, it didn't happen, but the TV series was such a success, there was public outcry. But what worries me is that the government are completely dominated by media and the opinions created by media. So a very simplistic series on the post office scandal creates such a fuss with the public, who can only see things in black and white and the two extremes. The government, the Prime Minister, ministers, and of course the media, are immediately converted and go actually 100% the other way and say, this is appalling, these convictions must be overturned now. And a law is created on the spot within 24 hours that all 800 convictions should now be overturned. Wonderful, great result, except it's not. It's so frustrating because that 800 may well include some actual criminals, people who did rip off the post office. I believe there are cases where the money was put directly from the post office into personal accounts. I think there are other cases where there is solid proof there was fraud going on. But all of those convictions now get overturned because it seems that the public, heavily influenced by the media, who also influence ministers and government, believe all were unfair convictions. I'm sorry, that's wrong. It's not right. Some of them may be guilty, some of them may need a retrial, and some indeed, probably the majority, are completely innocent. It's all a case of more of this simplification, superficialization, where the society only seems able to go one extreme or the other. Either everyone's innocent or everyone's guilty. That is not necessarily the case. So what should the government do? Well, I think the answer is fairly simple. My old friend Annie Nightingale left us last week. I always felt the same way about Annie as I did a bit about John Peel. They were both quite good friends of mine. Both tended to have completely different tastes in music to me, but once in a blue moon they'd come across something that I would absolutely adore, even though we often disagreed on music. I remember John Peel in particular kept trying to persuade me that The Fall were a great band. I just couldn't see it at all. On the other hand, I loved the Undertones as he did, and in fact Peely was one of the very first people to decide that Johnny Reggae by the Piglets was a smash and played it on his show and turned it into a hit. I remember Annie Nightingale in particular in the 60s came to visit him at my house once and said, "I've got to play this track, you're going to absolutely love it." And she put it on, and indeed I did. It was a track called "Oh Be a Wedding" by the Mighty Sparrow. And whenever I think of Annie, I remember her playing this to me and being so delighted when my face lit up. The track remains to this day one of my favourite ever tracks. It's a calypso track with wonderful lyric and a great melody. Listen to "Oh Be a Wedding" by the Mighty Span.
You're making yourself a poppy show, Melda. You're making yourself a bloody clown. Up and down the country looking for obia, and your perspiration smells so strong. Well, girl, you only wasting time. Obia wedding bells don't chime, and you can't trap me with negromancy. Melda, oh, you making wedding plan, carrying me name to Obia man. All you do can't get through, I still ain't gonna marry to you. The amount of incense that you burn at night, lad and gallic stinking up me place. So much different color candles that you light, rubbing red lavender in your face. Well, nastiness will cause your death. Girl, no man can stand your breath. You're too damn nasty, get away from me. Melda, oh, you making wedding plan, carrying me name to Obia man. All you do can't get through, I still am gonna marry to you. Oh, oh, if you really want a wedding ring, Melda, there are many other ways and means, like scrubbing your teeth and bathing regular. Soap and water keeps you fresh and clean, yes. Dress up in the latest style, always wear a charming smile. Some kunu bound to say I do. Melda, oh, you making wedding plan, carrying me name to Obia man. All you do can't get through, I still ain't gonna marry to you. Oh, yeah. Look how many nights we hung up tight, tight, tight. All we ever know was love and peace. Now every minute is only fight, 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 till you're using Obia man for breeze. Well, you don't seem to understand. Obia can't upset my plan, for Papa Nisa is my grandfather. Melda, oh, you making wedding plan, carrying me name to Obia man. All you do can't get through, I still am gonna marry to you. Yeah, 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 yeah. Mama, mama. Oh, yeah, yeah, oh, ayo.
So what should Rishi Sunak and the government do? As far as the post office scandal is concerned, he should immediately take on 200 independent, efficient lawyers and co-opt them to the CCRC and instruct them each to look at 3 or 4 cases over the next couple of weeks, come to conclusions and either send them back to the Court of Appeal or reject their applications. After that, the Court of Appeal should, within literally a couple of weeks, if investment needs from the government, invest, decide whether or not those convictions are quashed or not quashed. And then thirdly, compensation should be agreed and allowed. So that's as far as the specific is concerned. As far as the general thing is concerned, that in fact the false allegations industry and people being convicted of crimes that never took place or they did not commit or whatever, that also needs urgent looking at. And the CCRC, having employed those extra 200 people, efficient, trained lawyers, should now examine those, especially the long-standing ones, going back, in my case, 24 bloody years, and come to a conclusion within a week, each case, and either send it back to the Court of Appeal or reject it, in which case then the Court of Appeal should decide whether or not those convictions should now be overturned. And what can you do? Well, as far as I'm concerned, the important thing is for you to comment underneath this video on YouTube or anywhere else. Send me emails or messages. If you think we really need to do something now and that the false allegations industry, plus all the various horrendous mistakes made by police, lawyers, judges, juries over the past 30 years should be examined immediately, and as a result we should have a gathering, I'm suggesting on the 1st of April, April Fool's Day, somewhere in the middle of England, such as Birmingham, in which case hundreds, possibly even thousands of people will say the whole country is in as bad a state judicially as the post office scandal has revealed. It went on for 30 years. We cannot allow this now to go on for 30 years. See you next time.